Hi, everybody. I thought about just coming to record to talk about two things. And really, I'm going to kind of title this to be more nostalgia movies because these are two very nostalgia driven movies, Spider-Man and um, Matrix. Let's talk about Matrix first because Matrix is not as good. By far, that's an understatement. That's a very, very large understatement. Okay, let's talk about Spider-Man. I mean, Matrix, my bad. The Matrix. If you didn't watch Matrix 1, 2, or 3, then this is really not your movie. Not only that, if you don't know 1, 2, and 3, not just watched it, but you don't know it, then this is not it. And in fact, Matrix came out when I was in high school. So I was, let's see, I think I was 16 when the movie came out. And honestly, it wasn't, uh, people were coming to see The Matrix based off of like, oh, this seems cool. And it was really word of mouth. It was definitely not, word of mouth became instantly a cult fashion, a cult classic kind of a thing. And then by the time when Matrix 2 and 3 came out, it was standing in line. And then the way that Matrix 2 ended, it was really like a jacked up ending. And I'm going to tell you that Matrix 3 did not pick up exactly where Matrix 2 ended. So it was kind of a little perturbed. And I know it's okay. So this was all throughout college that Matrix 2 and 3 came out. But that all that being said, uh this is the early 2000s. So I think it came out in like 98, the first one. And then Matrix 2 and 3 came out, somewhere before 2003. So within the 4 year span, all three of them came out. So when you watch this Matrix, you're like, I mean, I was the only one in the theater and I was pretty sold out. And I know that you can watch it on HBO Max. But I decided to go to the theater and I was the only one in the theater and it was sold out, like I said. That totally freaked out at some of the reveals. My favorite reveal was little girl who shows up again. And I was like, oh my God, you know. And she was with the Oracle. And I thought that Jada Pinkett makeup and everything was pretty good, almost unrecognizable. I mean, because like if you look at her mother, like her mother, she's definitely not gonna age this way because Jada Pinkett's mother looks fabulous. Like, so that's like spare me. But anyway, that's I digressed. Um, the issue that I have with the movie, if I'm going to pick out some issues, so I'm going to get kind of petty, is I still could not fathom what were we doing. And by the middle of the movie, I still couldn't understand. I was like, what's the story here? We're just going to, we don't know why Neo needs to be rescued and put back into the Matrix. We have no idea why we need to now get Trinity and bring her into the Matrix. Um, I guess to save the city, possibly because the architect is going to destroy the city. I don't like Neil Patrick as the the architect, so I'll agree with that. I didn't dislike the movie. It was kind of interesting that Trinity is the one who's going to be more powerful or have more, who gains like equal power and standing to the one. And to me it felt like, okay, so we're going to overcorrect for how male centered the Matrix is by making this more female centered. And as I was driving home, I was like, why do I hate storylines that is based on love? Because this is what this is. And it's like, why do I hate that? And it's like, so Elizabeth, do you think that love, and I'm talking to myself, Elizabeth, do you think that love is a bad thing when it comes to story? And I'm like, no, I mean, that love is not powerful. And I'm like, no, I mean, I just, like, I'm more interested if the motivation is like money or power. But when the storyline is based off of love, I'm like, ew. So I mean, clearly I need to work through some things because a storyline that is about love shouldn't be such a bad thing, right? All that being said, I'm not saying throw the movie. I thought the movie was good enough, but I'm going to let you know that this movie is specifically for people who loved Matrix 1 through 3. Full stop, end story. Move on to Spider Man. Spider Man was so good. I mean, I've seen it twice. I've seen it in 3D. I've seen it in Dolby. I want to see it again in Dolby again. I would love to see it in IMAX. The only issue that I have with seeing it in IMAX is that there's no recline chairs near any of the theaters I'm around that has IMAX, and I'm not willing to see it in a rocking chair, especially when it's not leather. I know that sounds ridiculous, but especially during the sense of COVID-19, it's easier to clean leather than cloth. So I know it's all funky and dirty if it's cloth versus leather. So therefore, it's like, ew. But anywho, Spider Man was so good. And Spider Man was so good in a way. But here's the thing. Spider Man into the Spider Verse was Sony's animated movie with Miles Morales. I love that much more. And I'm going to say why is because I didn't think how they brought all like it was so innovative and new at that time on film, even though it was an animated movie. So when you see this, it's like, oh, this is kind of stealing off of Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. And it's kind of making what we thought was couldn't be done like in a real effective way. And next year we get the sequel, which I'm heavily looking forward into, right? But I really enjoyed um I mean, it was Daredevil, it was just Daredevil shows up, it was the reveal of Toby and Andy that was just perfect. They were perfect for who they were. But here's the thing. It gave a benefit to if you've watched all of the Spider-Man movies, including Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because Jamie Foxx references again Miles Morales. It's getting to the point, it's like, okay, so when are we going to get Miles? And because this is now the third time that we have had Miles Morales enter into the Spider-Verse, that has entered into, he's clearly in the same universe as Tom Holland. So, um, you know, I'm intrigued. So it was really, really good. So where do we, see this going? Clearly this leads to Doctor Strange. I still think Mephisto has something to do with uh, how this spell turned out, especially at the end, where even though you see them trying to pull, where Doctor Strange is trying to pull everything back together again, you see that there's a purple hue, which is so reminiscent of WandaVision. So I think that there is a connection between WandaVision and the spell that was cast. It was not, it was the tampering of Doctor Strange's spell, and not just the simplistic of, oh, I messed up the spell, and oh, you should have been, Spider-Man shouldn't have been talking. Like that was a little too simplistic for me, but I thought that it was a really overall, um, I think it was well done. I mean, it was so well done. And I really want people, the movie has already, I think, gotten to $500 million in a week. Like, so that just lets you know how good this movie is. And there's real competition coming up. I mean, if you want to tell me Morpheus is competition, I'm going to laugh at you, because like I'm not looking forward to it. I'm gonna watch it and I can come here and talk to you guys about it if that's something you want to see, if you want to hear. But I mean, on this Christmas, I probably will see it again over my Christmas break, even though um, I am squarely focused on one thing: Macbeth. I'm looking forward to Macbeth coming out. But go run to see Spider Man, walk very slowly to see The Matrix.